Alright, ready? Da-na-na-na. Na-na-na-na. 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 Na-na-na-na.
The creepy and the spooky, the spooky, the
It's creepy and kooky, mysterious and spooky.
Are you serious? Look here. Here's the thing. Okay,
Alright, look. They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky. They're all together, ooky. The Addams Family. Do-do-do-do. Da-na-na-na. 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 Da-na-na-na.
That's going in the episode.
Ookie is a word that was made up just for that intro. It doesn't actually exist in the English language, so don't go around using it. People will not know what you're talking about.
But what if they just know it from the Addams Family? And, like, you know what? I'll Google it now. What does the word ookie mean?
Yeah, I'm actually going to have to look that up as well.
Okay, no, that's not, nope. Ookie. Adjective. Repellent. Slimy. Yucky.
Is that a real word?
It's in Oxford dictionaries.
Wow. Okay. I guess I learned something. Thanks, Oxford. Wow. Ookie. Well, let's hope we don't meet any Ookie folks on the podcast today.
Oh, apparently it did originate in the Addams Family, though.
Okay. Well, I feel better than that. They made up a word and it passed into normal usage. That's okay.
It seems that way, yeah.
That's how English is.
Yeah, that is how
English. A famous TV show just invents a word.
Hey, to be fair, the word elbow only exists because Shakespeare was like, we need a word for that bendy thing on your arm. So he's like, elbow, I guess.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's like...
You think they would have come up with that earlier?
Yeah, no, but it
like
takes...
doctors or something would have come up with that.
To be fair, though, I was listening to a podcast called Sawbones about, like, medical history. A lot of... let's just say that the history of medicine, it takes a really long time for us to reach the point in time where doctors actually know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Have we reached it yet?
Oh my gosh. Well, supposedly, I mean, like, we've only gotten there in, like, the 1900s. So, technically, like, a large portion of medical history, or, like, the biggest advances in medical, like, ethics and blah, 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 came within the past, like, 300-something years. So, it took a while for us to get there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, we should get started.
Yeah, I mean... Welcome to the Level Cap Podcast, the one-stop medical stop for all things Level 99 games, news,
and otherwise.
Brad.
Yeah?
Oh.
I beat you to it this time.
What is my purpose in this show?
Nothing. Good night. Good night, everybody. Marco's been thwarted. He was kind of ooky anyway.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I don't think people would know the context behind that. Oh, unless I
thought you were going to put it in the episode.
That's true. Like that entire starting part.
So I bet they do know the context of the episode. Now that you're listening to this, Marco is telling you don't know what you in fact do know. Marco, don't be mean to our audience. Maybe you should apologize right now.
I'm sorry, audience, but to be fair, I am literally the god of this podcast, and I could remove it from the start of the episode to make myself correct.
Well, Marco, I trust you won't do that.
Yeah, I won't. It's quality content where we spent a few moments talking about English language evolving, I guess. Man, I love the English language. It's like it half doesn't make sense and half makes sense.
I love the English language, but I love it kind of like, like Cheetos. But like if you were stranded on a desert, like Cheetos are good, but what if you were stranded on a desert island and Cheetos were the only thing you had? You would have to like Cheetos. Like you wouldn't have any other choices.
Oh.
That's kind of how I feel about English. Like I don't have anything. I know a little bit of Japanese. Maybe I have a few Pocky sticks stuck among my Cheetos, but it's not enough to like sustain myself on Pocky sticks. Cheetos are all I have.
Oh man does not live on Cheetos alone, Brad.
Well, I mean, hey, when you're on a desert island and there's Cheetos, what are you gonna do?
Wait a minute. So then you'd have a lot of stuff to eat.
Well, Yeah, but it's all Cheetos.
No, you're
That was
on
the
a
whole. That was the whole point of the analogy.
no. You're on a desert island.
No, that's a desert island. Did I say desert island?
I think I
I don't
misheard
think
it.
I said desert island. I'm pretty sure that only exists in Kirby.
Oh man, Kirby. I love Kirby.
Isn't that the name? That's the name of the island chain that he was on, right? The desert islands in Kirby's Adventure. I can't remember.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if it was, and if it was. Oh, apparently there is a place called Desert Island in the real world.
I'm sure there is. It's too good to pass up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's too good, but also completely unoriginal. So, welcome to the Level Gap Podcast, where we talk about level 99 games and otherwise. Brad, I just want to ask you, how was your day been?
Mostly otherwise so far.
Oh, not level 99 games?
Not level 99 games yet. It's the first thing I do as I come down and sit and do this podcast, usually. So it's mostly otherwise so far.
I see. Well, don't worry, we're gonna get
Eat some cereal, take a shower.
Ooh.
Say good morning to Linda.
You're a morning shower person, huh?
Yeah, this is too much. This is too detailed. This is too detailed about my everyday life.
All right.
But speaking of baths, I went to a like Japanese style spa last weekend. It's called 10,000 Waves here in Santa Fe, just a short drive away.
How was it?
It was really nice. It's always relaxing to go up there and soak for a bit. And they have a really cool lodging area that's a Japanese style rooms with tatami mats. It's fun. It's a really neat place.
Oh man, that sounds so cool. Like, is it expensive? I've never been to one of those places. So.
It's a little expensive. I mean, it's one of the top spas in America. It's about $100 or $200, but do it once every other year or so, just to take some time.
Is it all expenses paid? Like, do they give you like free food and stuff?
Not free food, but they give you a free spa pass.
Oh, do you just go to everywhere? Oh, that sounds so cool.
Yeah, it comes with staying in the room comes with the spa pass. It's pretty cool. It's a neat place.
Oh man! All right, were you?
I highly recommend it if you're in the desert. No, Linda came with me. We go on a retreat now and then.
Couple spa retreat week. That sounds so cool.
Yeah, just for one day, but it's nice.
At least, still, I mean, like, I've never experienced something like that, and sounds like something I'd like.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they have them out there with you. Just gotta take a look.
Yeah,
I mean, they're all over the place in Asia.
Yeah, I've probably got to find something like that, because all I know are like those like cheapo resorts with like 3 different kinds of swimming pools, and one of them's a wave pool. That stuff. It's like it's not even a spa. It's just swimming pools, right? So
yeah.
Anyway, you've been doing anything else? Mm-hmm.
Other than that, we got our Exceed Season 2 big box in. I posted an update on that on Tuesday this week. So we got that in. It's super cool. We got what's the other thing we got? We got no, that's it. That's the only thing we got in. We're mostly just working on 7th Cross and Imperial right now. So I've been doing a lot of development work. And also planning for Exceed Season 2.5 and Season 3.
Can we tell people what Season 3 is about? Like, are we ever gonna?
No, we can't say it yet. We can't say 2.5 or 3 yet until we get official confirmation from the people, the folks. Yeah, the people who are in control of those licenses.
That's fair.
But they're licensed properties. That's what I could say. One is a video game. Well-known fighting video game. The other one is a well-known anime, which is also about fighting mostly. It's kind of hard to make Exceed seasons about things that aren't about fighting, so it wouldn't. You shouldn't be too surprised by that.
Phoenix Wright season now.
Too deeply into that.
Phoenix Wright season now.
I mean, they did it in MVC3, right?
Yeah.
So I guess we could.
Yeah, they did. Have everyone collect evidence.
Anyway. But that's what we've been up to is just doing a lot of game development and just trying to get together the final castle mechanics for 7th Cross. The exploration is what we're working on now. We got the boss fights locked down. Everything there is going really well. So just a matter of getting the exploration portions to finish up.
Oh man, I can't wait. Shucks, I forgot. There was like a video game awards thing on VGG, and Imperial, Spells, and Steam, and Argent all won awards. So yay us.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, I think
I'll have to check that out.
Imperial won most anticipated game for 2018, and then Argent won best worker placement.
Cool. Well, you have to link me to that so that I can check it out.
Yeah, I've already posted it on social media, so all of you fans should know. Ironic that Brad's the one who doesn't know.
Yeah, I know. I need to spend more time on BGG.
Yeah. So there's that. Are you gonna ask me what I've been doing so that we can move this?
Nah.
segment?
We'll just skip over that and move on to the next segment. What have you been doing, Mark?
Oh my gosh, Brad, won't you come and take away? Oh my gosh, I've been watching or listening to.
You've been singing karaoke?
Nope. The Greatest Showman. I've just recently watched it because.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? In the Philippines, there's a thing called the Metro Manila Film Festival. And what that effectively does is that the entire month of December, no foreign movies can be played in cinemas.
Really?
Yeah, and basically you're pseudo required to only show local movies.
Sounds a bit fascist.
And yes, it kind of is. I mean, like, it's supposedly to, like, give a chance to all of these lower budget movies to come in so that they can get shown. Because it's like, during December, like, if theaters were only allowed to show, like, whatever they wanted, they'd only show the stuff that makes them the most profit. And usually...
Yeah, all the Hollywood movies.
Yeah, exactly. And so those indie movies, like, Saving Sally wouldn't be able to... Like, wouldn't be there if the MMFF didn't exist. But that also means that any foreign movies that come out in December don't come out here. And they instead get pushed to February, January, right? Greatest Showman came out at around that time. So... I'm really late in watching it. It's so good. The soundtrack's great.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it yet. I'm not too much of a musicals person, but
Brad, I am.
I've wanted to watch it.
I'm such a musicals person. It's so good. Here's the thing, though.
Musical Marcos.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Look, here's the thing. It's a musical, right? So, like, if you're a person who's really into story and like character development and stuff, it might not be the movie for you. Because like, let's just say that a character, like in a musical, a character goes from being, like, bigoted jerk to literal saint over the course of one song, which lasts like 5 minutes. So if you're not the kind of person who can deal with that kind of stuff, this movie might not be good for you. But, I mean, you're going into a movie, you have to have a certain suspension of disbelief anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I understand the genre.
Yeah.
I don't knock it. It's just like when people break into song, it breaks my immersion. Sometimes that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
But I like musicals. I mean, I wouldn't say I like musicals, but I understand musicals and I respect musicals. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean to say.
There's some really good musicals out there, most of which are free for you to listen to. So this Greatest Showman thing's also kind of pseudo revived some of the cool musicals that I've liked since before. I mean, I would probably recommend them on this podcast. They do have some adult language, so watch out for that, because, you know.
Okay, well, what musicals do you recommend, Marco?
Well, I'd recommend some stuff like Dear Evan Hansen. You know, everything on Broadway is kind of good, but some quote-unquote indie musicals are, you know, there's this troupe called Star Kid, and they post full-length musicals online on YouTube. So if you ever want to watch any of these musicals, you can just go onto YouTube, and they're all there. They kickstarted a musical. And this is what I find to be very interesting about it. They kickstarted a musical called Twisted, the untold story of a royal vizier. So they basically took Wicked, right, and then made it about Jafar from Aladdin. So
okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And one big thing that I really like about this musical is that most of their songs take the melody of a Disney song and warp it a bit. So, but you can still tell that it's a Disney song melody, and then they just make the lyrics about, like, the musical. So they have a song called Twisted, which is the main song for the entire musical, and it's this entire part wherein a bunch of villains from all different Disney musicals and Disney movies come in, and they all start talking about how all of them aren't necessarily bad, just people who are misunderstood. And
Uh-huh.
the melody for that song was "Poor Unfortunate Souls" from The Little Mermaid, and was
Little
really
Mermaid. Oh, okay.
right.
And this is by a group called Star Kid.
Yeah, Star Kid, pretty good.
Okay.
There's lots of
I'll
reference.
check it out.
Yeah, check it out if you're into musicals. It's not a very serious musical, of course, but it's still great, and it made me cry during that one bit, so it's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, am I boring you, Brad? It's fine.
No. It's early morning. It's early morning, Marco. Don't worry about it.
Just kidding.
Just keep on talking. I'm gonna take a little nap.
Oh, okay. No, and that's pretty much what I've been doing for this week. So if any of you want us to try a thing, that's easily accessible, please, and legal, please, legal and safe for work. Please tell us in the comment section down below. Brad and I aren't opposed to trying out new things.
Yeah, it's great how Marco discovers all this cool media stuff, and sometimes, occasionally, I do too, but not that often. So I mostly rely on you for my media ideas, Marco.
Yeah. Okay. Then, next episode we're gonna talk about Mr. Mosquito. But aside from that, Brad, tell me, this week do we have a character of the week or do we have a pipeline?
So we don't have a character of the week. We would talk about Pipeline this week. And I think it's a good week to talk about it because we did just get Exceed Season 2 in. So I could talk about the press process and how all the production comes together and how we handle the back end of, after we've made a game, after we have balanced everything and gotten all the materials together, what do we do next? How do we get the game from the raw materials into physical materials and then into your hands?
Oh, that's really interesting.
And so, yeah, I hope it'll be an interesting segment to talk about that process.
All right, so
with you guys.
let's start it off, Brad. You have your board game idea. All of the proofs, not proofs, but all of your data files, PDFs are done. What do we do now?
So the next thing you do, at this point, you've already contacted your preferred printer, maybe 2 or 3 preferred printers, and you've gotten quotes. And the quotes will tell you, how much it's going to cost, how many units you're going to have to produce, etc. And so offset printers, these are the printers that do high volume products. Offset printers will require you to print some minimum number. Usually it's 1,500 these days. In the old days it might have been 10,000 because offset printing wasn't quite as good. Usually for us it's going to be about 2,500 to 5,000 units of any given game that we produce. So we have a quote in hand, we know how much the game's going to cost, and we push ahead to go to production. We send all of our files to the printer, along with a big spreadsheet that is called a manifest. It details all the contents of the box, the sizes, the stocks. By stocks, I mean the weights of the paper, the things that we printed on, the kind of coating that you're going to use on your paper, the side of gloss finish that you're going to use on your paper, the any plastic bits that you're going to produce, any stock parts such as wooden cubes or matchsticks or anything else. All that stuff goes into this big document. You put all that together, hand it off to the printer. They take your PDFs and they lay them out into print sheets. And the print sheets are these really big single sheet pieces of paper. They're probably about a yard wide and some indeterminate length. They can be pretty long.
What's a yard? I'm sorry, but what's
a yard is it's a little shorter than a meter. It's a
3 feet
measurement.
Is it 3 feet?
Yeah, it's 3 feet.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not American.
No, it's okay. That's okay.
All right.
So you get your press sheet, and then Josh takes a look at this press sheet, and he makes sure that all of the cards are on the sheet in the correct quantities, in the correct order. Once that is confirmed, you do the same thing for the boxes, for the rule books, for any peripheral bonus content cards, and for any tuck boxes. Basically every single printed component in this game. If you've got punch sheets, then you have to look at the position of the... You make your own punch sheets. So you lay out all the cards, or all the tiles, all the punches that you want to have. And then you draw die lines. And the printer will send you back a version with fixed die lines that shows where the punch sheet is going to get punched, where the cuts are going to be in that punch sheet. And so once you've confirmed all that stuff, then they start production. production can take anywhere from 15 days for a simple card game like Pixel Tactics, all the way up to like 45 or 60 days for a really complex game like Exceed Season 2. And one of the reasons Exceed Season 2 is so complex is because in addition to the 4 different varieties of box, so there's 4 main retail boxes, there's also 5 small tuck box products, a playmat, an art book, and the poster, thank you letter. All this stuff then has to be produced, then has to go into a collector's box, which is then produced separately.
Right.
And finished up. So all that stuff comes together and goes into the box. Then, after about 2 full months, you have your whole game produced, everything finished up, ready to go. Then it's time to do your freight booking to actually get the game from the warehouse, from the factory warehouse where it was printed, all the way over to your fulfillment center or to your garage if you're going to do your own fulfillment, like we did back in our early days.
But you don't do that anymore, right? Because you're not crazy.
No. I mean, it was cool when we had like 300 backers for a project. We would do it. But now we have like 2,000 backers for a project. It's not feasible for us to do the fulfillment anymore. I couldn't fit enough products in my garage. My garage is not big enough to fit that many games.
Of course.
There's no way I could do it myself.
That means you put it in your living room and your bedroom.
Yeah. No, it used to be a lot of fun. Like we'd have like 300 or 400 orders to ship. We'd get the games delivered here. A couple friends would come over. We'd put on some music, pack some boxes, go out to dinner afterwards. It was a lot of fun.
Wait a minute.
I enjoyed that.
So when you said pack some boxes, this made me think. Does that mean that when you get all this stuff from the printer, they all come separate, and then you guys have to package the boxes individually?
So, yes, typically. So typically, when you purchase a product like this, the factory will do what's called cartoning, and they will carton each of the boxes separately. So a carton might have 8 to 12 boxes. A carton of Pixel Tactics is 48 boxes. A carton of Millennium Blades is 3 boxes. It just depends on the size of the game. But the carton takes the game and puts it into a size that's manageable for warehousing and shipping and retail management. So they carton your game, and then it's on a dock in China, and then Chinese New Year hits, and you have to wait 2 additional weeks to get started with anything.
Because of course.
But if that doesn't happen, you get started right away. You contact your freight forwarder. And sometimes your factory can do this as well for you if you don't have a freight forwarder. But I recommend getting a freight forwarder because it'll be their job to manage your game. And once the factory leaves, the factory usually doesn't care that much what happens to it.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, you call your freight forwarder and you say, hey, like I've got these products in this place. I need to move them to these locations. For us, we have 5 different fulfillment centers. There's one in the USA, Canada, England, China, and Australia. So those 5 fulfillment centers for us. We split the shipment up based on how many backers we have in each of those zones, coordinated, divided up into different pallets, and then we ship all the products out to those different areas. We actually have 6 destinations because our distribution center, or our distribution agency warehouse, is a separate destination from those 5.
Oh, okay.
So the lion's share of things, the U.S., Canada, and our U.S. distribution goes to Chicago. The rest goes directly to its own destinations, to England, to China, which they just ship it overland, and then to Australia. Those get there. We upload a big spreadsheet with everybody's name, address, phone number, what they ordered, and the fulfillment centers ship that out. And then when things get to the U.S., the freight forwarder then accepts them at the dock, splits that big shipment up into the 3 smaller shipments, Canada fulfillment, USA fulfillment, and USA distribution. And then they freight those to their ultimate destinations. So this is why I say it's really good to have a freight. Yeah, their final destination. This is why it's really good to have a freight forwarder, because the freight forwarder is in charge of that process, and they have an office there at the Chicago warehouse. And their guys will come down and supervise to make sure that the pallet gets split correctly. If they have any questions, they can call you and contact you. And obviously, if you hired a factory in China to ship directly to your warehouse destination, there would be nobody to do that. You just have to trust that FedEx gets it right or whatever.
Oh,
right?
That's dangerous. That sounds really dangerous.
Not with that much money on the line, right?
Yeah.
It's much better to just pay someone to have human oversight.
Yeah.
So yeah. Now for us, one of the things that we've done to improve the process is when you purchase a pledge, say you get the Argent, Master Student Pledge, and it's got all of the, it's got the base game, the expansion game, a couple mini packs. It's got, all kinds of other stuff. What we do is we tell the factory in China, like, hey, we want you to pre-print or pre-pack this many boxes in a carton this size, because the factory has box manufacturing tools, and they can create a cardboard box that's the exact right size for your bundle of products. Whereas if it gets to America, we have to then go and source boxes from Uline or some other provider that may be a close fit for your product.
Ooh.
As opposed to making one that exactly fits the product. So what they do is the factory will print this box, and the box will say, this is the Master Student Pledge box, one of 150, and then pre-pack that, seal it up, and we can just have those pre-packed pledges sent to each destination.
Oh.
That also saves you on fulfillment, because at a fulfillment center, typically everything that they have to pick off the shelf and pack into your box costs you like 10 to 20 extra cents. So if it cost me, say, like $15 to ship a box to you, which obviously it costs like 60 because you're in the Philippines, but say it cost me like some amount of money to ship a box to you, right? But the guys in China will ship it to you for like 15. It's great. It's really great. This is the power of having multiple fulfillment centers, because the VFI Asia in China will ship to the Philippines for like $15, whereas in America it would cost me 60 to ship that same package to you.
Yeah, it's so true. Because when I bought the original like War and Devastation Kickstarters, it was like, why does the shipping cost as much as the game, right? But
yeah, it's pretty bad. It's great that we've gotten better processes. We can do like legitimate shipping deals now.
Yeah, it's so good.
But anyway, so it cost me about amount of money to ship to you. But then if the factory had to if the fulfillment center has to source a box and pack it, it might cost me $3 or $4 extra. Ooh. And you're like, well, $3 or $4 extra, sure, whatever. But it costs the factory like 10 cents to put it all in the box, and they do it at the factory, and they create their own box, as opposed to that $3. And when you multiply that by, say, like 2,000 backers, it starts to add up really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So a big part of making the shipping more economical for people on the end is, reducing the cost of that fulfillment, packaging, and sourcing.
An innovation.
But yeah.
So
yeah.
So Brad, is that the entire process? Like, what happens when you finally send out the games? Do you guys have like some sort of like, I don't know, process that makes sure that all the games get to everyone? Or do you just wait for the fulfillment centers to tell you, oh, we sent the games?
Well, each fulfillment center does it a little differently. Most will send out tracking numbers to all of your backers. And then, and so from that, you will be able to test if packages arrived. Typically, we don't check because there are so many coming out, but we let everybody know via an email and via Kickstarter, like, hey, things are shipping out now. You should get your box in X days. If you don't, contact us and let us know so that we can reship it or track it for you or whatever. And each fulfillment center, typically a good fulfillment center, is going to email the tracking number to the recipient, because we have emails for all our recipients on Kickstarter, obviously. You should see an email update that says, hey, your box is coming at this particular time and place.
Interesting.
We haven't had too many problems. There's always a few that they slip through the cracks. Brazil is especially tough.
Yeah, because it's Brazil.
Customs in Brazil is really rough. Yeah. South America in general is tough to ship to. So is the Middle East.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, Middle East, because it's I don't know. I don't know if it's volatility, if it's just the post service not being very well developed.
Yeah.
But Middle East is pretty tough, and we've shipped a few times to Africa, to different places. Usually South Africa. I think once to Egypt. But
that's pretty cool.
But yeah, those usually go through Europe if they're going to that zone. We don't have enough people in the Middle East and Africa to justify having a fulfillment center in that area.
But enough in Asia, so I'm fine with that. Ayo.
Yeah, we finally added Asia this time.
Oh my gosh,
that was really good.
Feels
Adding
so
Australia was a big deal.
Yeah, I never knew there was like
Yeah.
a lot of people in Australia. Do some of the stuff that go in Australia end up going to Asia instead? Or is everything in Asia just going to China?
Everything in Asia is going to China, Japan, Philippines, Malaysia. Malaysia, I don't think we don't have any in India, and I think we have a couple South Korea. But basically it's continental Asia.
Ah.
And those little bits of Oceania that are near Asia.
Man, imagine if you got one North Korea thing.
No, there are like places that you just can't ship to.
Oh, is North Korea one of them?
Yeah, like in America, it's actually illegal for us to do business transactions with North Korea.
I never
Not
knew
that they would ever order anything, but I think the situation is such that board games are not really that concerned in North Korea. But yeah, like if somebody in North Korea attempts to do business with me, I am not allowed to accept their money and do business with them.
And if you do, you go to jail.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's jail or fine. I don't know. It's never come up. But I just know that you're not allowed to.
All right.
There are other countries. There are other countries like that. Mainly countries that that we're in active conflict with.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I guess. Huh. Interesting. No, but here's a question for you, Brad. On average, are you allowed to tell me this? Just tell me whether or not this is okay. But like, on average, how much does it cost to have a game, printed, delivered, fulfilled, etc.?
It depends a lot on the size of the game and the shipping. The most important factor is the weight of the game. For a game like, well, let's take BattleCon Devastation, since we're about to do the Devastation Master Edition.
Oh man,
it's a good thing to
isn't that one of the heaviest games you guys have ever made?
It is. It's not as heavy as Exceed Season 2, and it's not as heavy as Millennium Blades. But it cost us $16 to produce a unit of Devastation. And then to package and ship that unit of Devastation, let's say to somewhere in America, would be about $20. So the whole cost of the game, printed and delivered. Oh, and then, so it's a little fuzzy because you actually have to freight the game too. So to get all of that entire shipping container of Devastation over the ocean to Chicago tends to cost about $10,000. But that cost is split among the 5,000 units you printed. So I guess it ends up being about $2 more.
Okay.
So in the end, it's between $35 and $40
per box,
depending on a couple of those different factors. Yeah, to print and deliver this box. And if you are, say, in Australia, where the shipping is going to be $60 instead of $22, then the cost goes up significantly. But thankfully, Australian fulfillment centers, yay! That said, you still have to, when you add a fulfillment center, you have to freight to the fulfillment center. So it costs like $3,000 to get a shipping container to Australia. That's only profitable if you've got a few, like over 100 people in the country that want your game.
Good thing you do. So apparently,
yeah. So but you can't just add all these fulfillment centers willy nilly. You have to know that you have that critical mass in that particular zone in order to justify a fulfillment center.
Okay, I see. So wait, didn't you sell Devastation for $60 to $100? I forget.
Yeah, Devastation retails at $75.
Yeah, $75.
$75. So, let me tell you a little bit about the economics of that. This is probably a big enough topic we could have an entire episode about it. But,
so give us a small taste. Give me
I'll give you a small taste. All right. So board games are sold through a 4-tier distribution system. All right. I print a game. A distribution agent sells the game to a distributor. The distributor sells the game to a retailer. The retailer sells the game to the consumer. Right. So the consumer pays 100% MSRP, ideally. Obviously, with Cool Stuff Inc. and Troll and Toad and Miniature Market, whatnot, you tend to pay about 75% of MSRP.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter. Everything goes back to MSRP because the retailer pays 50% of the game for MSRP. Right. So if I sell a game for $100, then the retailer is paying $50 to their distributor for that game. The distributor purchased the game from my distribution agent for $40. So at 40%. All right. And then my distribution agent takes about 7% of that MSRP. And so that leaves me about $33 for every $100 game that I sell.
Wait a minute, but doesn't it cost you like 40 something bucks to make and ship that?
If I ship it to a retailer. Like I said, the unit cost for Devastation is like $16, and then the cost of getting that whole container over the ocean is about $2 per unit. So the game actually cost me about $18 to produce, right? And so then, and so if I retain, let me just whip out my calculator real quick and make sure I give you the exact number.
Math. Oh
but,
no.
Yeah, $75 times 0.33, you get about $24.75 on a copy of Devastation. So if I take out the $18 that it cost me to produce and get that game over here, I make about $6.75 on each unit that sells in stores.
Huh.
And that's profit. So this is a very poor setup. We undersold Devastation, or we sold Devastation under the actual value. You're really supposed to sell any game you sell. You're supposed to sell at about 5 times the production cost. But if we sold Devastation at 5 times $18, it would have been a $90 game as opposed to $75 game.
And you think?
But yeah,
you think people
I would be
making?
Buy it? I don't know. I was not certain that people would buy it. But if I'd done it that way, I'd be making $30 per game, which, taking out the 18, is a $12 profit.
So that's times 2.
Yeah. And ideally you want to make, if you invest $5, you want to make $10 on your product. Now with Kickstarter, we're able to do that because I can print the game and ship it for $40, and I can print and ship the game for like $40, and then I've still got $20 left over from what people pledged for the game. Even if I only charge $60 for a game that costs $20 to produce, I can still have a very reasonable profit margin on that game. And of course, don't forget that profit goes to cover things like the art development and the time of the graphic designers and production managers and my own development time. All the things that go into actually making the game. So the expenses are a little greater than just the production value of the game.
Yeah.
But that stuff is kind of nebulous and tough to track.
Man.
So we,
board game production.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing. But the thing about distribution is that even though you don't make as much money on distribution, you can do bulk. The difficulty of selling 1,000 units directly on Kickstarter versus just dropping 1,000 units into distribution and watching them vanish is it's much easier.
So there's a trade-off. It's a trade-off.
It's a trade-off, but there's also the other side of it, where when you produce, the factory says, like, hey, you've got to make 2,500 of these. Well, if I only sold 1,000 on Kickstarter, that means I have 1,500 left to do whatever with. So I can throw those into distribution and and make a little bit of money back on them.
Oh, and watch them disappear into the ether.
Right.
So
that's typically the way that these sorts of things go.
All right. So now we know one very important detail, Brad. We need 2,500 backers every time we do a Kickstarter. Hey.
Yeah, we've done that like twice, I think.
Yeah, we need to do it for the next one. Don't worry.
We really do. We do, but I think Imperial will have that kind of universal.
I was about to say, it's like the next one's going to be a train placement game. I think we're sold. Oh, with miniatures, so we're fine. All right.
Well, even if we sold 2,500, I would then print 5,000 because I do want it in distribution. Having your game on store shelves is a nice form of advertising too. It's nice to have shelf presence.
That's true. I really need to bug my local game store to get some level 99 games.
Yeah.
I mean, I could probably even donate my own copy of Devastation. Never mind. Okay, look, here's the thing. That's pretty much the pipeline where Brad talks about some development. I guess this time it's not development, it's more of production.
Yeah, this is the production side of things.
All right. And, the board game life isn't always glamorous, but it's filled with math, so I guess that's kind of glamorous in its own way. Brad?
Yeah, you gotta be pretty precise to deal with these sorts of things. It's a weakness that I have, and so I've worked to get processes in place that will make sure everything goes smoothly.
Those checks and balances, man. Those checks and balances. All right. So let's move on to our final segment, our 99 questions, where we answer the hot, kicked questions straight from your hands into our heads.
You kick a question from your hand into their head.
Yes.
This is a pretty dangerous contact sport, sounds like.
I mean, better than Quidditch.
Well, don't forget to dodge.
Dodge,
anywho.
Gohan! Dodge! Okay, Alright, first question, Brad. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Will the BCO soundtrack ever be made available for purchase or download? I know it's on YouTube, but I'd like to put it on my phone to listen to on my super long drive to work if I can.
So we do need to deliver the BCO soundtrack. It's one of the things that was available through the Kickstarter. And if after we do that, we'll probably think about some way to put it on sale and share the soundtrack. But yeah, I would certainly like to. I would certainly like to do that.
Yeah, it would be cool, man.
So yes,
man.
Yeah,
I am.
The answer is yes. It will be available for purchase and download.
Yes. Okay, excellent. Yeah. So this one's kind of related. Number 2. What is your favorite video game soundtrack?
Well, for me, I'd have to say probably Bloodborne. That's what I've been listening to the most. As I developed stuff across, I just listened to the Bloodborne soundtrack on repeat. How about you, Marco?
Oh, man. I mean, I guess it's like a normal answer or like an obvious answer, but Bastion's soundtrack.
Huh. I wouldn't have thought about that. I feel like the normal answer is probably Mega Man 2 or something.
Oh, that's fair. I don't know. I'm like really into that entire I don't know what genre of music it is, but every song in Bastion basically sounds like something you would hear if the cartoon is showing you like a swamp or bog area, and then those typical I don't know what instrument it is, like the guitar I don't know.
Guitar?
Yeah,
electric guitar?
No, not guitar, but it's like southern swamp
banjo.
Yeah, maybe like a banjo. It's like that. I like that kind of soundtrack. I mean, if you listen to Cesar's theme, the guitars in Cesar's theme are what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Right?
I'll check it out. But you can play it on the podcast for everybody so they get an idea.
Yeah, of course I'm gonna play it. Both the Bastion and Cesar's theme. Cesar's theme, such a good soundtrack. It's probably in my top 3 of VCO soundtracks.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, his voice acting is gonna be ready pretty soon as well.
Okay, Brad, can you spoil me on something?
Yeah, sure.
Is Cesar's voice acting what was his direction? Did you just make him sound like Auron from Final Fantasy X?
I'm not certain. I haven't gotten the actual clips yet. I know that it's a gruffer sort of action hero voice. But I don't know exactly how everything's going to sound just yet because they're still in processing.
I see. Because I'm holding out for him to sound southern.
I don't know if he's southern. Well, you'll just have to see.
Oh, man. Okay. I mean, I guess you can't spoil what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Last one. This is oh my gosh, this is really funny.
All right.
What's the silliest BattleCon matchup you've encountered? I just played Elgor versus Elgor in BattleCon Online and was wondering if there was any matchup weirder than that.
Pretty much any matchup using the armory is going to be weirder and sillier. I'm a big fan of the armory, and especially the deck duel mode in armory.
Mm-hmm.
The weirdest matchup. I got magnificent mic dropped by Marmalee for like 7 damage, and it was just the image flashed through my head, and I was like, wow. That's
imagine this dragon.
I don't think it gets any sillier than this.
This dragon lady does a triple pirouette and then throws a mic at you.
Yep.
Magnificent. Oh my gosh.
So that's So that's those get pretty silly, and they're a lot of fun. As far as just pure character matchups, I don't know. What about you, Marco? What do you think? Pure character matchups.
I mean, like on the mechanical side of things, if I said this in the podcast, it would start exposing the chinks in our wonderful game design. Is that okay?
What do you mean?
I mean, okay, for example, some characters weren't designed in the same sets. So maybe their interactions weren't really seen prior to them being played in real life. And because we added on new core systems after these characters were released, certain things were introduced into their gameplay that they didn't have access to before, and therefore we didn't see any problems with it. Here's the matchup. It's Tannis versus Sagas. So Tannis is from Devastation, she's the puppet girl, and Sagas is from War, he's the staff guy with the sunglasses, right?
Okay, yeah, these are like the two most complex characters in their respective sets.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sagas's mirror token, when he antis it, he gains the ability that whenever a player gains a certain stat or loses a certain stat, the other player also gains/loses that stat, right? So if the opponent gains power, Sagas gains power. If Sagas gains priority, the opponent gains priority. Okay, so that's effectively how it works. Then Tannis has a style that says upon revealing whatever bonuses her opponent get, they don't get it and she gets them instead. Right? So these two things together wouldn't, like, it would ruin, something wouldn't make sense. But it's usually no problem because both of these characters were designed in such a way that they don't gain stats when they play these cards, right? So Tannis has no way to gain stats when she plays Playful, I think. And then Sagas has no way to gain stats when he antis his mirror token because none of his cards provide bonus stats outside the printed stats. But since we recently added the Force Gauge and Trials, it is now entirely possible for Sagas to anti his mirror token, Tannis to play Playful, and then Tannis or Sagas will anti-Force Power or Force Priority. So this means that when Sagas antis the power, Tannis also gains the power, but then Tannis steals Sagas' power, but she gains that power, so therefore Sagas also gains it. But then Tannis steals that.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Well, let me tell you, Marco, that Devastation Remastered won't have such problems because we have top men working on it.
And Ariel, you will be our
top
savior.
Men. Top men.
Top men. Is that what your balance team is called? Top men?
Yeah, there's nothing balances quite like a top, let me tell you.
Okay, yeah.
Yep, they're all Mega Man villains, and they all just sit around balancing games.
Yeah, that's all they
tops. That's
all they do. You just gave me the idea that Daniel just goes around wearing a suit that's a top. I'm Anderel, and I'm wearing a top or something. I don't know. By the way, to anyone,
we should have him on the podcast at some point to talk about balancing.
Oh man, that's gonna be fun because then he would spend like at least 5 moments talking about how much I whine about Schecter. But no. So just in case anybody's wondering, the resolution to that is that it stops once. Like Sagas copies the stats for everyone, Tannis steals it, that's the end. You know, it doesn't keep recurring. That's what we ended up agreeing on. That's what Daniel said would happen. But yeah, stuff like that can happen in BattleCon, and you know, effectively Sagas and Tannis gain infinite power.
BCO, BattleCon Online has also forced us to confront a lot of these problems head on as well. Things that we didn't, interactions that weren't previously foreseen, like have to be resolved somehow in the code. So it's been really enlightening to develop the video game version of BattleCon Online too. So there are a couple characters that have proved more difficult than we expected.
Yeah, and that's why Cameron told me that Seth would be released last.
I don't know about that. At least he'll at least get released. There's some characters that just probably won't because they're too crazy.
Oh wait, who?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say somebody's off limits because Cameron and Daniel and Chad might surprise me and say like, no, we implemented that guy. So I don't want to say anything off the top of my head that somebody wouldn't be involved. But character like, for example, I feel like, Inderbit would be really tough to do. Thessala would be tough to do in the current system. Probably, Cherry would be would be impossible in the current system. We'd have to add new things into the way the engine works to make Cherry work. Stuff like that.
I see.
So, not to say those characters won't ever happen, but there are implementation hurdles that we have to jump over before we can put them in.
You know what's really funny? I was talking to Cameron a few weeks ago, and they were talking about like implementing Enderbit, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, haha, why implement Enderbit when we can just implement Joel instead? And apparently, according to Daniel and Cameron, it's actually much harder to implement Joel than it is to implement Enderbit.
Yeah, because one just has a setup step once, whereas Joel gets new cards all the time.
Yeah. So, apparently what I find to be hard to code isn't actually what's hard to code. So, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
But if we can do Rifflem, we can do a lot of folks. So,
I mean, to be fair though, Rifflem just changes stats on cards. So
that was a pretty big technical hurdle.
Really? I never knew that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, because we had to be able to. Well, anyway, it's a big thing. We should probably have Chad or Daniel on here to tell us about BCO at some point.
Yeah, because I don't know jack about the coding. Because man. All right. So that pretty much was 99 questions. If you guys have any more questions for us, please tell us in the comment section down below, or click the Google form so that you can submit it and be guaranteed that it will end up on a podcast. I mean, like, everything's guaranteed to end up on a podcast eventually, but if you feel that like it might get lost in the comments, Google form.
And hope you guys have a great week. Happy gaming. Stay tuned. Enjoy the February season and otherwise.
So as usual, it has been me, your Valentine's host, Marco DeSantos, also known as the Mechanic Critic, and with me has been my other Valentine's co-host,
Brad Talbot.
And we'd like to thank you for listening to the Level Cap Podcast. Please share with a friend or share with an enemy. And as usual, don't forget your special action, and thank you, World of Indians. Thank you. Good night.
And good night.